Hello and welcome to the heliosblog. My name is Helios, here for another reaction video. Today, HasanAbi reacts to Pearly, who's in a debate. Let's get into it.
The reason she's alone is because she's difficult.
Women are not accepting the bare minimum.
Women fuck men they respect.
All the women who say things like, I'm strong, independent, I don't need no man, like, y'all impress me.
Women just gaslight each other and say what they want to hear.
Okay, we're going to dive a little bit into this H3 Pearly Things debate because I want to see what the fuck's good here.
The problem with feminism is that women want equality, but they don't really want equality. Is there any other ones?
I'm sorry. I was reading something. What'd you say?
I love this fucking freak, dude. Just freaky things, dude. Holy her entire off the perk 100%. Her entire fucking perspective is literally like, I'm a woman and I just fucking hate women. Okay.
That's not a perspective. Her perspective is, I'm a woman that's not that attractive, and so I need to know what it is that men actually find attractive so that I have a chance to actually be in a relationship.
Okay, I'm going to advocate for every single thing that is just bad for women.
Like 3%.
It's not bad for women.
Last time I checked, it was 3%.
Oh, so there is a pay gap.
Yeah, but that's 3%.
But it's not a myth if there's 3%.
Yeah, but the number they used to push was like 77 cents to the dollar.
But that's what it is without the. It's about 20% without the
Correct.
Yeah, the control. Yeah.
Right, and so yeah.
Basically, the pay gap has already been debunked. It's a choice gap. We already know this. Women take more time off work and so on, and they tend to be less educated because they're doing things that they want to do more, such as taking care of family and so on. They also take more sick days and all of that. And if you average that out over every job, it lowers the salary by a certain percentage. It's not because they're women, although it kind of is, because women tend to make these choices en masse, right? But it's not like, it's not because businesses have something against women. It's because women's behavior has a tendency to reduce how much they get paid. All right, let's continue.
I mean, when women, like, I just think if we wanted to be equal, then do the same jobs men do.
She's also not doing a very...
They do that. There are women that already do the jobs that men do. But here's the thing. Even when they do the same jobs that men do, their salary is reduced because they take more time off work, you know, they go on maternity leave, etc. They choose not to work as much overtime and so on.
Very good job. What? Isn't this like her job? Isn't her job literally to fucking advocate against women? Why?
No, she doesn't advocate against women. She advocates for men. There's a difference between these two things. But there's more than that. No, she's never been a particularly good debater. If you see her debating, she's not a particularly good debater. Basically, what she does is she hosts a podcast and brings guests on that are good debaters, and she just sits there and moderates. That's what she normally does, because she knows she's not that good a debater. The only reason she's doing these debates is to increase viewership to her channel. Even if she loses, it doesn't matter. Okay. Shilling time. Hit the like, hit the sub, hit all for notifications, drop me a donation like Hunter M, Adrian R, and Tom M. Share this video. Buy my books at bit.ly/heliosbooks, and of course go to my Patreon and subscribe at patreon.com/theheliosblog. Alright, let's continue.
Why is she doing such a bad job at it? She just seems so like, whatever. Like, she seems so aloof. Why? I thought she was like better than this. I've never really seen her outside of like random fucking clips on Twitter where everyone's dunking on her, but like at least she used to have a little bit of confidence when she's delivering this dog shit, right? I'm unmuting.
In addition, the research team found that the importance of human capital varied across wage distributions and part-time work, as well as female-oriented occupations. The updated result explained about 20 to 70% of the raw wage gap over the wage distribution, but it left an adjusted wage gap of 10 to 15%. That was in 2019, according to the U.S. Department of Labor.
So have they not accounted for taking more sick days and all of that? Have they accounted for choosing to work less overtime, choosing to take more sick days, choosing to go on maternity leave, etc.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to look at that, but the stuff I've seen, it's very small. It's like 3%.
What stuff have you seen?
Off the top of my head, I can't remember, but I can send it to you.
Sure. But I just gave you a pretty concrete. I mean, the U.S. Department of Labor. Do you consider that a credible source?
Yeah. I mean, if that's true, it's just a lot of times like there are like parts of the study that they don't talk about. So like even on
okay, but like even if you don't know the study, why is your immediate response? Well, I didn't really read the study, but I'm sure the study is somehow twisted and manipulated.
Yeah, that actually is true. I'm sure if you analyze what they were looking at, you'll see something like this.
Like, that's not wrong. People do actually manipulate studies. Ethan would be the one manipulating the study in this circumstance, not the Department of fucking Labor, okay? But also, I mean, she's got like, someone in the chat says she's on that Kamala Harris does. She's like, is she zooted? What is this? Like, what's happening?
I think it's just the angle of the light makes it look like she's the angle of the light makes it look like she's doing some illicit substances. I don't think it's that.
Why is she coming across like she's the most barred out person I've ever seen on
like
camera?
A number you gave me earlier, like there was more to it.
Which number? Which one? I'm sorry. Go ahead. We'll unpack that.
The 12% of abortions are not done on the surgery table of the emergency room. These cases are overwhelmingly doctors advising abortions ahead of time in case there are risks for the mother in pregnancy.
That sounds reasonable to me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a doctor is qualified to say this baby is going to put your life at risk. I would trust the doctor to say that, wouldn't you?
Yeah,
like,
but they're saying it.
No, I trust JustPearlyThings more. Ethan, you just got fucking owned, baby. After all, allegedly she has a womb, so you don't.
12% number they're giving you is highly inflated.
Based on what? Because what you just read to me doesn't disprove what I said at all. It actually
does she have
sense.
people in her corner sending her information?
They did not say that.
Who's they?
Yeah, they didn't say that. So here,
who's they?
Sounds to me like Pearly is either tired, or maybe she does normally do some kind of illicit substance, and right now she's off it and she's very irritable. That's what it seems like to me. Or it could be a combination of things, because right now she's really not doing a good job here. And you can see this guy here, H3, he's kind of bored.
It's just someone I do research with, so
so just someone.
Okay. Yeah, don't.
That's good. Okay, that's fair. That's fair. Don't push, right? Here's an interesting analysis. I thought maybe you'd be interested. Women don't do the dangerous jobs. Women are overrepresented in healthcare. You know that probably, right?
Yeah, it's the #1 employer is nursing.
Then hopefully you can explain to me why, when you look at the pay
a notoriously non-dangerous field, by the way, healthcare.
There's a huge disparity of the average wage of male doctors versus female doctors.
I can explain. Okay. There's such a thing as a period. So women over the course of a month will have about a week where they feel like terrible. And some women sometimes will choose to take a few days as sick days. Men don't have that. So they don't have periods, so they don't take those days off as sick days. So over time, if you count every girl and every sick day on average, all of those days being unpaid, because a lot of these jobs, they don't pay your sick days, right? Then it lowers how much they're paid. Then if you also take into account maternity leave, where, you know, you do get paid for maternity leave, but you get paid 80% reduced. Sorry, you get paid 20% reduced, I want to say. And if you add that up, every girl who's a nurse, and you average all of those, then it would reduce the average pay. So just those two. Not to mention, you know, I have to take care of my mom, I have to take care of my dad, I have to take care of my sister because they're feeling sick, I have to take care of my kids because they're sick. And all of those for every woman, and average those out. Where they take a sick day where they're not even sick because they have to take care of somebody else and not do their job. Do you see how they're not being paid less, but because they're taking more days that are reduced in pay on average, it appears as though they're being paid less.
You can see here, and even this is from 2022, last year. This is again from the Physician Compensation Report Male doctors make on average 285,000 per year. Female doctors make on average 228,000.
Oh, there's more also. Male doctors that are, focused on their job more than anything else, above anything else, because men, they know that their burden of performance is one of their main attraction triggers. They will tend to be more specialized. They'll tend to be more specialists. They'll tend to have more degrees and so on. They'll have more education, more time spent on education, more time spent working. So they'll have higher seniority and so on. Because if you add up all the time that women take off as sick days or when they don't prioritize, like, let's say, for example, because women are more agreeable, right? So let's say female doctor's mom is sick, male doctor whose mom is sick. Female doctor is more likely to say yes to helping her mom out, even though she knows she's going to take a pay cut. The male doctor is more likely to say no, even though it might hurt their own family, right? And so on. All of these factors all together will reduce the salary substantially.
Per year.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the woman's field, and yet they're still making significantly less than their male counterparts.
That's right.
Okay, does it say why?
No, this is just raw data. This is just raw data.
I mean, you'd have to look at why. So
we could.
The other part of this, the other issue with this is that Ethan will often come across like way better to an audience than the girly chick, right? Because like her audience is misogynistic and she's a woman and he's a man. So like Ethan doesn't even need to overperform for her audience to immediately be like, yeah, you kind of sucked on that. Like,
not true. The reason why she looks bad is because she's losing. And men are more disagreeable. They're more on average. So they're more likely to tell you when you're losing.
Maybe you should stop being a dumb woman or whatever. So it's kind of like,
okay,
it's not dissimilar to, Ethan, unfortunately, or many other like people who do debates, unfortunately, when they're like speaking to debate bros or alpha podcasters or whatever who are trying to do debates, their audience will not immediately be open-minded to someone like Ethan because they're like, oh, well, he's beta. He's like openly beta. He looks beta. I don't care. He's beta, right? That actually absolutely flips in Ethan's favor in this debate. And he's already doing great anyway. To be fair, to be honest, this is in control for specialty. Women tend to go to pediatrics, compensates less than IM FM. There still exists a pay gap, but it's probably less. Yeah. The pay gap, depending on what field you're looking at, might be actually smaller than you think. But ultimately, it doesn't matter because there still is a pay gap for women and men in the exact same field with the exact same level of education.
Right, but it's not a pay gap actually. It's a choice gap. Look at you, Hasan. How many hours and hours and hours do you spend in the studio working? You spend a lot, I'm sure. Women on average spend a lot less time. So on average, they get paid less. Unless they're doing, selling their body work, in which case they get paid way more. That's the difference.
Yeah,
what do you mean majority?
Women...
What do you mean majority of women?
Oh my gosh, the majority of the women complaining about this
Based
stuff.
on what? Majority of women.
Whiners. Just what I see. Whiners. Big whiners.
And then not only that, but
that's not a debate tactic. That's an ad hominem attack. What Purdy just did.
Women fields that are populated heavily with women, obviously, famously underpay.
Yeah, but it's for the same reason. Right? It's not like women's nature changes depending on the job they choose. No. Female nature is the same. Yes, there are individual variations, and I'm sure when you see a girl who's very masculine, who's just like a man, then she earns the same. A woman that works the same hours for the same quantity of time in the same field, the same amount of experience will get paid exactly the same. But that's the problem. The problem is men tend to be favored in every one of those areas. They tend to have more experience. They tend to work longer hours. They tend to choose their work over their family. They tend to take less sick days, and so on. All of those factors all together add up to them being paid more on average. It's not because they pay them less because they're women. they pay them less because those women and women as a group tend to make certain choices that lower their salary. So it's funny because the gender pay gap is because they're women in a way, but it's not because they're the gender of woman. If we had reversed the genders and men chose the same choices that women do, then women would be paid significantly more. It's not really about the gender. It's more about women as a gender tend to make certain choices. They tend to favor their family over work. They tend to take more sick days. They tend to focus on other things over their work more. That's why there's a pay gap, because it's as a gender, as a gender, they tend to have these certain trends in patterns of behavior. But it's not. If we had reversed the genders and men tended to have those same patterns of behavior, then men would have a lower salary. It's not actually because they're women, it's because of the choices. And I'm sure that there are men out there that make the same choices as women. They take more sick days, they choose their family over their work and so on. And if they make those choices, then their pay would follow the same trend as women's. It's about the choice gap, not because they're women. It's not a pay gap, it's a choice gap.
Nursing being a great example of this. Regardless of how taxing the job is, regardless of how difficult it is, it doesn't matter. Education is another field where people are underpaid regularly. These are very, very important sectors, and yet for some,
they're not underpaid because they're women. They're underpaid relative to men because men tend to work more, longer hours. They tend to have more education, more experience, and they tend to take less sick days.
For some reason, like any kind of social services, nursing, healthcare, but like elderly care related things, these are all incredibly important industries, regularly underpaid.
Or just whiners. They're big whiners. And I have never had trouble getting a job. I've never had trouble getting the same pay as a guy.
That's right.
And I think that in 2023, it's just a bunch of excuses.
So what's your experience in the work? You use your own experience as an example of why women pay gap doesn't exist.
Yeah, I'm not blind.
That would be called what's it called? Solipsism, right? Taking your experience and generalizing it to the population.
Well, hold on. What's your experience in the workforce?
I always had a job from like after high school in the summer.
This isn't even like that good content ultimately because
America,
like she's just so boring.
How long did you work in corporate America?
A couple of years.
Couple of years. I haven't.
She's trying to do that thing where it's like, I don't really care about this at all. Like this is beneath me, but I still came on this broadcast
working in corporate
and I'm like
America.
in front of a larger audience than I've ever seen in my entire life. And yet she's like nonchalant, like over the top nonchalant in an effort to try to make it seem like her lack of experience in this field or her
She's not nonchalant. I think she's actually either tired or off a substance or something, because something is wrong here.
Lack of intelligence. It's impossible basically for her to craft a cohesive narrative. So for that reason, she's just trying to make up for it by being like, oh, I just don't care. I don't care.
If what you're showing me is real, you did this to someone else, but then there's like something else to it. But if what you're showing me is true,
yeah, it's all true. This is all sourced.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, but again, it can be properly sourced, but if it doesn't explain why, then it doesn't actually make the argument that there's a pay gap. Correlation does not equal causation. Again, if they had Myron here from Fresh and Fit, this guy would get destroyed.
I mean, you could easily look this up yourself.
Can I see the parameters for the control? I'm just curious.
Sure, we can do that. Yeah. You can pull up the U.S. Department of Labor one.
The doctor one. Could I see?
By the way, we've long since moved past, but I did find that study in the Rolotoni video, the Swedish study from several years ago about Swedish prison system. I'm not sure We can loop back to that.
Wait, what
if
was
we
it?
want
What
to.
was it? I'm unfamiliar.
Rolo Tony, they're referencing Rolo Tomasi here without saying his actual name because they don't want to advertise him. Okay.
Here, I got a bunch of tabs open. Where did it go? In the meantime, here I'll send this.
How old is JustPearlyThings? She's not 26. That's a lie.
Can you open it?
She's
'Cause
older than
I don't
26,
have the Zoom
certainly.
on my
No,
computer.
she's not
Dan
26.
sent a link to you.
No, you're
I
fucking
guess
lying.
That's a parameters one.
That's the Department of Labor's 2019 study. There's a couple more. I guess we didn't. Really
What do
get into
you?
it.
I'm curious. What do you think it is? The wage gap?
Well, it's complicated, right? I don't think it's as simple as saying it's a myth and women
70
who
cents
complain
on
are
a dollar.
lazy. That doesn't seem like a.
That's like
a
across the board.
productive-
That's not. You see, even me, I would do a more competent job than this.
And it's unfortunately one that like misogynists will fucking rip apart.
You seem to think that the wage gap is real, right? And that women. Do you think women are discriminated against?
Also, that's an ad hominem. Just because the wage gap is a choice gap doesn't make me dislike women. I don't dislike women. It's actually rude to assume that a person that disagrees with you has some negative character trait. It's not true. Just because I disagree doesn't make me a bad person. Just because you disagree with me doesn't mean I think you're a bad person. Maybe I think you're stupid, but that, again, you're not necessarily a bad person for being stupid. You're uninformed. But actually, I don't even think you're stupid. I think what you do, Hasan, is you just appeal to your audience, which makes you smart. You can't ever say anything that would hurt your audience, right? Your viewership. The person that you are has to remain as you are because the people that listen to you need you to be that for you to get the money. So you're just a shill for your audience, right? But I mean, you could make the same argument for me, I guess, as well. But that doesn't disprove the argument for you.
Yeah, definitely, absolutely.
Because what barriers do women have today in 2023? Like, I just genuinely
It's not
don't
about
understand
barriers,
what's
right?
stopping you.
It's not about barriers. It's about.
I mean,
it's
that's
about norms. It's about like.
There's definitely
patriarchy.
barriers still.
No, it's not about those things. Again, we can use the classic, the tried and true argument. If women were truly paid 77 cents on the dollar, if I could truly pay a girl less than I pay a man for the same education, same experience, same personality, same everything, then I'd hire only women. Because I would save, what, 25% or so per worker? Yeah, that's all profit I get to put in my bank account. Why doesn't it happen then? It's not because businesses like men more than women. It's because there is some benefit to hiring men. And the benefit is what? Less sick days, they work harder, they tend to have more experience, they tend to have more education. They tend to choose their work over their family, which means they will work for you more than a woman would, right? Even though the woman will take more days off, so you have to pay her less. You see?
There's definitely a lot of barriers. It's that the overwhelming majority of people in positions of power are still men. They very clearly...
That's not why. Men are in positions of power because of the underlying psychological characteristics that men have that make them more suited towards leadership. It's not about being a man, actually. They're not just in power because they're men. Look at this guy here. Does he look like the kind of man that could rule a country? He can't. Needs certain personality characteristics. And men tend to have those.
Really still have those sorts of biases when they're hiring new people. And those biases also factor into contract renegotiations and any...
Actually, it has to do with agreeableness, right? Women tend to not argue as much, and so they get lower salaries as well when they're arguing for the salary.
Kind of like negotiation for your salary, which is part of the reason why women are underpaid. There's still a sexual harassment and sexual assault problem in most workplaces. That certainly doesn't help women working in the workplace. These are not even concepts that are that controversial, even for the right wing. Jordan Peterson and the like actually admit that these are very real problems. And their solution obviously is different. Their solution is, get back to the kitchen. And they say that in a much kinder way. But the reality is
Actually, Jordan doesn't say that. Jordan says be with a woman you can contend with, a woman you can fight with. So he doesn't necessarily agree with a woman being in the kitchen. In fact, I believe his wife works. So I don't think that he actually believes that. So you're misconstruing Hasan's argument there. But anyway, let's continue.
very regularly will say it. Like, they're like, oh, we don't know what happens when men and women are in the workplace and these harlots are caking on makeup like a trollop, And it's like, yeah, but you're victim blaming in that situation, but you're still admitting that there is a problem in the workplace for these kinds of things.
Not long ago, in regards to the draft.
100 years ago. Okay, fine, 100 years ago. I was just,
ago.
I'm saying in the past you could argue, but in 2023, I just don't think there's anything stopping you. I think it's like very much a victim mindset to tell women, like, to go up telling us that we're oppressed. Like, I think that I can do anything minus like the physical stuff, but I think I can apply for any job a guy can if I want. I can go after any job that I want. I can ask for more money if I want, and I don't think that men are out there discriminating against women. I don't think that men are. If men are such capitalists, men want to make money. It's like if women were so much cheaper, they would just hire all women.
Right. It's not how it works. But I've never claimed to have a solution. Right. I'm just saying there.
Okay, I apologize for all those noises. Anyway, we're going to end the video there. They're not getting anywhere. They're just arguing across purposes, and it's wasting all our times. So let's end the video there. Hit the like, hit the sub, hit all the notifications. Drop me a donation like Hunter M, Adrian R, and Tom M. Go to my Patreon and subscribe, patreon.com/theheliosblog. Share this video, and of course, go to my Patreon, I already said, buy my books at bit.ly/heliosbooks. Thank you so much for listening, guys, especially if you listen to the end. Really do appreciate it. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you next time.